Good Friday evening to each and every one of you. It's time for the NBA here on 2K Sports. Kevin Harlan here with Clark Kellogg and Steve Kerr. And for the Detroit Pistons, they come into tonight's game after the loss to Phoenix.
How about their free throw shooting in that game, guys? They just gave away so many easy points. Tough to win when you do that.
Well, it's hard to call them free throws if you can't make them. I mean, they were very undependable at the line, and when that happens, it's going to impact the game.
Looking for the starting five for the Atlanta Hawks. Brought to you by State Farm. Williams and Smith at the forward. Horford anchoring the middle. Heinrich and Johnson in the backcourt. And for Detroit, Stuckey and Ripper in the backcourt. Tayshaun Prince out there with Jason Maxiell. And it's Wallace in at the center position.
Joe Johnson gets a lot of the credit on the Hawks, and I think he deserves quite a bit of it, quite honestly. But you wonder how his big contract will affect the other players like Josh Smith and Al Horford.
Good point. And Clark, to extend that point, you're talking about Johnson. He's a leader, but his numbers aren't too far ahead of those guys right now. Steve, this is kind of an interesting look.
Well, I think Joe Johnson, he's got a big contract. He's a good player, an all-star caliber player, but not a superstar. And sometimes when you get that big number next to your contract, it puts a lot of pressure on you. And I think Johnson has been under a microscope there in Atlanta.
All right, let's go over to the sideline with Doris Burke.
Kevin, I had a chance to catch up with Larry Drew. He loves this matchup and believes this game presents them with a great chance for an offensive explosion. I think our strengths offensively could pose major problems for them. We'll find out, Kevin.
Wonderful stuff, Doris. Thanks. The early game plan, Clark, centered around their offense. It sounds good.
Yeah, and I think that's fine as long as they don't sacrifice anything from an effort standpoint at the defensive end.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the strategy, guys, because when you get off to a good start offensively, you feel good about yourselves, and generally that energy carries over to the defensive end as well.
Here's Heinrich.
And Atlanta's overall record might have fallen last year, but they stayed just as strong as ever against the East. They were able to chalk up 31 wins against Eastern Conference opponents.
Now here's Johnson. 4-point game. And that one's good.
He is truly a special offensive talent, and he's always going to cash in on those kind of chances.
And the East was a lot stronger. Steve, you're right, this past year. Clark making Atlanta's mark even more impressive. We talked moments ago about how their win total wasn't all that good, but against the East, they did find success overall.
They did. They were a dominant team against the East in a lot of ways. The tide of the dominant conference shifted a bit. And unfortunately for Atlanta, they were able to kind of keep up with that shift.
Beautiful offensive execution, and they're starting to extend this lead.
And they could run away with it if they get hot at the right time here.
Here is Stuckey. He's coming off a 16-point game against Phoenix. He's picked up by Heinrich. Stuckey with it. Back to Wallace. He kicks it to Hamilton. 6 on the shot clock. Wallace outside. It's Rip Hamilton on the way. Will it go? And Maxiell kicks to Hamilton. Dishes it to Maxiell. Covered by Smith. Kick out to Hamilton. Goes back up. And a foul called on the shot. Got him on the way up that time, so he'll shoot 2 right here.
And Rip Hamilton, such a great player for the Pistons during their championship season and subsequent title runs, but after signing that extension a few years ago, really has not been as productive for Detroit the last few seasons.
A different look for Detroit. Monroe comes in for Ben Wallace. And it's Wilcox in for Jason Maxiell. Then for the Hawks, Josh Powell is checked in for Smith. And Damian Wilkins subbed in for Marvin Williams. And Rip Hamilton, his production diminishing, also a fair amount of turmoil. Wouldn't you say, Clark, for him last season in Detroit with the Pistons?
Yeah, the air was a little choppy for Rip. Feuded with the coach some, didn't like coming off the bench, missed some practices. I mean, he had some issues that really derailed any chance he was going to have at being productive. Just didn't seem to be a good situation for him with the Pistons.
And in front of you now is a list of the players with the highest shooting percentage last season. If you look at Al Horford, you know what you're going to get from him day in and day out.
Now that's the name of the game for him, just putting the ball in the bucket. How about the season he had a year ago?
Now here's Stuckey. Hamilton outside. Monroe with a screen on Johnson. Hamilton, he's guarded by Johnson. 18 feet away. Atlanta with the rebound. Defeated by the Pacers in their last game. They'll try to put that one behind them.
Well, you want to talk about struggling offensively, but no matter how good you are at the other end, if you can't score, you can't win.
Yeah, that's a great point, because so often we talk about defending, winning championships. Defense makes it happen. Well, the game is about putting the ball in the basket. And if you're bad at that, you're not going to win a bunch of games. I can tell you that for sure.
And foul called as he misses. He'll go to the line and shoot two. Joe Johnson picks one up.
Well, Tayshaun Prince was once a lockdown defender, but he sustained some back injuries over time and that slowed him down a little bit. But he's still a very effective player.
Talking about Prince, even those injuries you mentioned, he still has that incredible reach working for him defensively.
Well, the wingspan of a condor, I call it. And clearly that is always going to be there. It's not going away. He may get a little slower, but he will always be long, and that's a useful attribute to have defensively.
Johnson outside. Jacks up a three. The shot is off. So Detroit will take it the other way. And this game, the first chance they've had to see Atlanta.
And this, the first of 3 games that these two teams will have against each other this year.
Now here's Wallace. Shoots from 12, and that one goes long.
You know, this is a shot that we've seen him miss, but actually the coaches would like to see him not miss as many.
And Smith backing in. A 10-footer, and there's Joe Johnson on the assist by Smith. 11 points for Johnson. And as Steve just said, as the first game of the season series, you never know what implications these contests could have in terms of playoff position in the conference.
You know, Kevin, still a little early to know how things are going to shake out in terms of that. But definitely something that these teams will think about down the road.
36 seconds left to play in the first quarter. Smith against Hamilton. He feeds it to Wallace. Fires it up. Gets it to fall from the right block.
There's another smooth finish there, Kevin. I mean, he operates at such a high level when he's in close to the basket.
Now T. He dishes it to Johnson. Johnson right side. Again, the Hawks score.
Well, thanks to some good shooting, they're off to a nice lead here.
Well, they hit the ground running, Steve, from the tip-off, and they've yet to slow down.
And as we conclude the first...
Coming up.
Welcome back, everyone. A lopsided first quarter in the books already as we start the second quarter. So with Johnson sitting on the bench, here's the group that Larry Drew has on the floor. Smith and Horford at the 4 and the 5. Teague out there with Crawford. And it's Wilkins in at the 3 slot. Now here's Crawford. 11-point game. Just 5 on the clock. With 1 on the clock, Teague can't hit. Pistons trailed by 11.
Well, it's been a rough couple of seasons for Detroit. They do have some nice young talent to work with, but they're hamstrung a little bit by the salary cap. It may be a while before Detroit is able to return to the Eastern Conference elite.
Here's McGrady. Here's Stuckey. And that's collected by Smith.
Boy, he had a good look there.
Got to take those when they come.
Going back to the Pistons, a couple of their contracts on their payroll that are not looking so hot in retrospect. They're going to have to work through those financial issues as well.
Yeah, I would think you're talking about probably Ben Gordon,
Yes.
Charlie Villanueva, and maybe even Rip Hamilton.
A lot of money.
Yeah, there's a lot of money laying out there, and not as much production as the franchise would like to see.
McGrady passes to Gordon. McGrady and Crawford picks him up defensively. They double him with Horford. McGrady kicks to Stuckey. Fires top of the key. Wallace, good. Wallace has got his second basket of the night. Here's Teague.
You know, Ben Wallace, one of the elder statesmen of the NBA now. He won't be the force he once was, but he can still help a team in spots on defense.
And now the first timeout called here for the Hawks. And Steve, back to Wallace. What he's offered has never really shown up on the box score.
So much toughness and energy. And, you know, it's always been a struggle for him to score, but it hasn't mattered because of the way he's rebounded and defended. Just been a real force in the paint at that end of the floor.
Here's what Detroit's going with right now. Craig Monroe, he's checked in for Wallace. Wilcox comes in for Jason Maxiell. And Tayshaun Prince subbed in for Tracy McGrady. Some good ball movement here. Just 4 to shoot. Crawford outside. Good. Crawford's got his first 3 points of the game.
Yeah, they're finding the open man. Unselfish play. I like it.
Yeah, I love it too. Teamwork in evidence there, right on full display. A big percentage, a high percentage of their baskets have come off assists.
Crawford against Gordon. Nice D from Crawford.
Boy, the effort was there, but he just couldn't quite fight his way through traffic.
The Hawks leading by 14. Takes the 3, and a great assist by Heinrich as that one goes in. 6 points for Crawford. And it's the Pistons with the ball. 17-point game. Crawford against Gordon. Kicks it to Prince. Back to Gordon. Over Crawford. And the basket by Gordon. A minute 50 left to play in the first half. And here's Heinrich looking for his first bucket of the game. The shot, and the Hawks getting another basket right there.
Boy, the Hawks were really a pretty efficient team last year shooting the basketball, and they have been for some time. They just don't get baited into taking a lot of bad shots. Most of the time, their shot quality is good.
Here is Wilcox. Now here's Stuckey. Clock at 6. From the high post. And again, Ben Gordon. Clark back to the Hawks and they're shooting. You know, Steve, they don't settle for lazy jumpers. First of all, what in your mind is a lazy jumper?
I think a lazy jumper is when you don't get movement before the shot goes up. You need flow to your offense to create a good possession. A lazy jumper is one where you just come down, you get no movement, and you just launch a jump shot.
Here's Crawford following the basket by Ben Gordon. Over Gordon in Atlanta again with the bucket.
He was really a non-factor in that first quarter, but he's found a way to step it up here.
Pistons trail by 17. Here is Stuckey. He's picked up by Heinrich. Feeds it to Prince. Crawford with the steal.
Smooth defense there. He made it look like the pass was intended for him.
Williams finished off the break. Williams has got his first points of the night.
Yeah, he didn't have to slow down at all, guys. Just perfectly timed pass there.
And here's Gordon from outside. Basket is good. The assist from Stuckey. Gordon's got 7. And so a pretty lopsided game through the first half. Hawks lead by 16.
It's the HP Halftime Report. I'm your host, Damon Bruce, out at the Palace of Albany. Portland with a loss to the Pacers.
And as we welcome you back, we begin our second half. So far, not a tightly contested game, guys, but, you know, anything can happen. Stuckey and Ripper in the backcourt. Ball is out there with Jason Maxiell, and it's Prince in at the 3 spot. That's the group for Detroit right now. Williams kicks to Heinrich. Smith with a screen on Stuckey. The Hawks need to get off a shot here. Rodney Stuckey pulls it in.
You know, Stuckey was looking to build off of his great campaign in the year before last season, but seemed to sputter in a bad way in Detroit. Just didn't find the rhythm.
Prince. Now Smith defending. Knocks it loose. Just 5 to shoot. Beyond the arc. And Hamilton gets it to go on the assist by Prince. Hamilton's got the first basket of the second half. That one for the Pistons. Going back to Stuckey for just a second here. Still effective, Steve, but not the leap the Pistons were hoping for.
No, it sure wasn't, Kevin. I mean, Stuckey played well at times, but it didn't translate into victories for Detroit. They wanted him to be more of a leader at that point guard spot. So kind of a disappointment for the Pistons. But Stuckey's still with plenty of potential, and hopefully he can grow into a more productive player.
He's guarded by Johnson. Smith gets a hand on it. The Hawks leading by 13. Heinrich up top, covered by Hamilton. Heinrich with it, still looking to get on the scoreboard. Over Hamilton, and Maxwell pulls it down.
Tell you what, despite the miss, he shouldn't hesitate to take those kinds of looks when he gets them. That's a good shot. You know, after the disappointing end to their 2010 playoff push, the Hawks decided to make a change at the head coaching position and went with Larry Drew at the helm.
Prince, right side. Here we are in November, and let's see how things are going out east in the early season. Taking a look at Detroit, right there in 5th position, middle of the pack in the conference. And, of course, the Hawks, a game behind.
I think for the Pistons, they've surprised a few people this season. It was hard to tell what direction they'd go in, but no doubt they're on the right track.
Yeah, things are falling their way this season, Park, and it's good to see. They made a few subtle changes to the roster over the summer, and most people didn't really think too much of it, but those moves have paid off. I mean, they're having a good season.
Ben Gordon's checked in for Detroit. Bynum comes in for Rodney Stuckey. And then for Atlanta, Pachulia comes in for Al Horford. And Damian Wilkins subbed in for Marvin Williams. That marked back to Drew. They had Mike Woodson. He took him to the playoffs, but Larry Drew takes his place. Drew is on his staff. It was scrutinized early, but, you know, Steve, he took him back into the playoffs and deep into the playoffs.
Well, and that was their goal. They wanted to get back to winning a series in the postseason. And Drew was able to do that. They beat Orlando in the first round, and then they gave Chicago all they could handle in round 2. He should have knocked that one down, and he'll be the first one to tell you that.
Now Bynum. Wilkins picks him up. There's Gordon. Had a chance there to cut it to single digits, but it's off target. The Hawks leading by 11.
Well, it was a terrible season for Detroit a season ago. The lone bright spot was they actually fared pretty well at home, finishing 21-20 in Detroit.
Heinrich dishes to Johnson.
Get the perimeter.
Shot to end this cold run, and Johnson missing again. Well, for the Pistons, as you said, Steve, even just finishing with those 21 wins, you know, Clark is something to build upon.
Yeah, it is something to build upon. And when you've got a team that's in transition, that's in limbo phase right now, you've got to try to hang your hat on some of those positive things. And better than 500 record at home is certainly one of those. And you always start when you're building a team and the culture and identity is let's take care of the home court.
And here comes Heinrich, looking for his first bucket of the game. He goes up, takes it up, and the rejection by Wallace.
Tell you what, things just aren't bouncing his way this quarter.
Clark, their offense has been great here.
Yeah, I love the way they look, really strong and together.
Yeah, very aggressive, too, keeping the defense off balance with their ball movement. I like the way they look.
And here's Heinrich. Now here's Johnson. Over Gordon. And it's Johnson again missing.
Nothing's working for him here. He's just really struggling to find the basket.
Gordon kicks to Bynum. And it's Johnson picking him up. Backing down is Wallace. The jump hook, and it's wide right. The Hawks leading by 9.
Now running a little bit of time off. Looks like they're going to play for the final shot.
Steve, you're right. If nothing presents itself, hold for one.
To stop the run, and there's the nice layup by Johnson. Johnson's got 15.
You know, Kevin, they were a step late on their defensive rotation, and that helped them get right to the rim.
Well, they're pulling closer every possession, really playing well now.
Well, they've ratcheted it up a bit here. I mean, expending a lot of energy, but you know what? They're back in it now.
And that's it for the third quarter. Both teams scoring. So as we get rolling here in the fourth, let's go to our sideline reporter, Doris Burke, for our Sprite Spark. Doris, take it away.
Hey, Kev, today's spark of the game, Jamal Crawford. He's been everything you could ask for in a sixth man in this game as he's come up big for his team off the bench. Guys, can he keep that productivity up? We'll see.
Wonderful stuff, Doris. Thank you. What a game it's been for him up to this point, Clark.
Kevin, he has been absolutely outstanding. I mean, we may not have been expecting him to play this kind of role, but he certainly has put his impact on this game.
Yeah, he sure has, Clark. A huge factor off the bench.
So with Smith sitting on the bench, here's the group that Larry Drew has on the floor. We've got Teague. Horford is out there with Marvin Williams. Then there's Johnson, and it's Collins in at the center filling out the middle. Teague kicks to Horford. And there's the feed to Teague. Up with it. Shakes off the strong D and gets to the bucket for 2.
I like the way he attacked the mismatch, using his speed to get that shot off.
Definitely, I agree. I mean, sometimes it forces you to be a bit more creative in that situation.
Here's McGrady. Offline with his 3. The Hawks leading by 10. Here's Teague. And the pass to Horford. Good luck. And it falls a bit short.
Now, they've got to be careful. They can't give him that much room because at that range, he'll make you pay.
And that one's good. McGrady.
How about the hustle? He doesn't have a whole lot of speed, but boy, does he play hard.
Now Teague. Time call here. The Hawks decide to talk it over.
He wants to make a few adjustments out there, and he's running through those with his team right now.
Let's find out what Doris Burke has for us.
Guys, well, Larry Drew had some advice for his team over that last break. His advice clear cut. I want to see you playing to win, not playing not to lose. I don't care what the lead is. We do not back off.
Here's what Detroit's going with right now. Ben Wallace, he's checked in for Maxey. And Richard Hamilton is subbed in for your Redcoat.
The finger roll finish. A little finesse for you, folks.
Crawford with the ball. Now McGrady defending. Smith outside. And so it's going to be a 3-second violation out there on the defense.
You know, because the Hawks struggled late in the season, regular season that is, they were overlooked in the East during last year's playoffs, but I think they used that to their advantage.
And he shows the focus there, nails the technical. And the Hawks took care of the Magic with these and gave the Bulls a run for their money.
Well, when the Hawks won that first game in Chicago, they really caught everybody's attention. But eventually, Derrick Rose and the Bulls were just too much for Atlanta, especially at the defensive end of the floor.
Heinrich outside. And Smith backing in. Rebound by the Pistons. Now Stuckey. And Crawford picks him up defensively. Richard Hamilton on the wing, covered by Smith. Hamilton against Crawford. And the Pistons getting another bucket right there.
Well, you've got to like the focus that they're showing here in the second half. I see a lot more effort as well. I mean, it's amazing when you lock in mentally and bring some energy and intensity, things can pick up in a positive way for you.
And here's Heinrich. Smith outside. Fires from 14. Smith missing again. Pistons trailed by 5. Here's McGrady and blocked. Outside Williams. Now Hamilton defending. Now here's Heinrich. Back to Crawford. Over Hamilton. And Crawford with the basket on the assist by Heinrich. 11 points for Crawford.
Yeah, they are just lighting him up from mid-range area.
You know, sometimes we forget about the value of the mid-range or in-between game. This team has made 8 of their last 10 with that shot, the in-between shot.
Here's what Detroit's going with right now. Maxio comes in for Ben Wallace. And Ben Gordon is subbed in for Tracy McGrady. Joe Johnson, he's checked in for Atlanta. The Hawks leading by 7. Heinrich, right side. Guarded now by Tayshaun Prince. Williams kicks to Heinrich. Guarded by Prince. Pulls from the top of the key. It's hauled in by Maxio. Maxio's got 3 rebounds so far in the game. Here is Stuckey from 20 feet out. And the basket by Gordon.
Well, after a horrible half of shooting, they bounced back here in the second half and picked up their shooting percentage quite nicely.
Heinrich with it. Passes it to Johnson. Lets it go. And a great assist by Heinrich as that one goes in. And the Hawks lead by 7. Now Stuckey. He's picked up by Heinrich. And here is Stuckey. Five on the clock. Goes up on the wing. Al Horford with the rebound. Heinrich with it. And so the Hawks take the win. They pulled off this win, Clark, with